Let me call the meeting of the Albany Water Board.
All right.
Well,
I'm sorry.
We're not live yet.
Not a lot. It's not as fast as
all
us.
this technology is supposed to speed things up. There we go. Okay. I'll now call the meeting of the Albany Water Board for Friday, April 25th, 2025 to order at a little after 9. All board members are present. We may have a request, a motion to approve the minutes as they were submitted. I'll move. Second. Second. All in favor? Aye. Thank you. No one here from the public to comment. Anthony, you want to give a quick
Yeah, I can.
finance report?
Yep. This will be. Good morning again, everyone. The Finance Committee, Friday, April 25th, 2025 was called to order at 8:34. All board members were present: Chuck Holton, Rachel Johnson, Jim Frizzell. Water board staff, Joe Coffey, Chris Powers, Ari Islam, Karen Wilkes, Sarah Terrell, Steve Mercier, our rate consultant, Bill Kahn, and our attorney, Laura Golfall. The minutes were approved as presented. There was no public comment. Chris Powers gave again a great Finance Committee report, so we appreciate that. So because it just happened a few minutes ago, there's probably no need to go over it again. There was no new business. There was no reason to enter into an executive session. The next meeting is for Friday, July 25th, 2025 at 8:30. And the meeting was, or Finance Committee meeting was adjourned at 8:59.
Any questions, comments? I should have said in my opening that the Albany Water Board is being streamed live on YouTube. You know, this is our first time. The next item on the agenda is the rate advisory board, Bill Kahn. And I think Joe and Bill wanted to talk about some of the issues that Bill raised in an email.
Okay, we're talking about the pre-bill and audit. Do you want to raise that question?
Right, so let me just start by saying the numbers, as we saw, are just extraordinarily good. And that said, one quarter does not make a year. And also during the break, I asked about the sewer contract, and the sewer contract number is $4,047,000, which is 47,000 over for the first half of the year. So while that's not exactly where we want to be, and that number has gone up dramatically over the years, it's only going to impact our budget, you know, as being over by 47,000 or perhaps 100,000 for the year. So that's kind of good news too. The comment Joe made, I guess, do we want to get into the mud on that, or?
Well, I think one of the things that came up, and it shows, it can reflect in a billing error periodically, and we had it with Central Towers, for example. So when we get a really crazy high number for a customer consumption, do we just bill it, or do we take a timeout and we try to do some kind of audit on it before it gets billed? And I think that's something that we haven't done. And I think in hindsight, it's something we may want to think about incorporating into some kind of a process.
Particularly for the large users, it's more difficult with residential, but and it's a process that, at least my understanding is, that the system allows for certain metrics to be applied pre-billing, meaning and it either can be customer based or overall billing based. So if it's a large user that's using a lot, that number is going to be very high. If it's a smaller large user, that number can be much lower. And my understanding is the system also does, it can be seasonally adjusted. So I don't know whether that's something that we have to buy as an additional software, or whether it really is part of what we have right now.
I can answer that. The Beacon software, which attaches to Springbrook, which is where we do the aging and the reports out of, does have a mechanism for, I guess it's for our best meters that are cellular. So most of Route 7, I believe, is on the cellular kind of best meters that we have. If there's an anomaly in consumption on those meters, Beacon will alert the user that this month is extremely off from the prior month, or if there's a day usage to detect a leak, perhaps it will alert you and has that capability. I've seen that.
But
Now-
those variances are determined by customer through the software, so it can be a pre-billing adjustment.
This is just the actual readings itself being sent in via the cell phone network.
Okay.
On a monthly basis. If one is highly different than the other, there'll be an alert. Or if for some reason there's a mechanism on the meter itself, and then, but I think the older meters have that too, that will alert us that if there's something abnormal of the consumption is going through the roof.
So is that
the other
being
days.
used though?
Probably not to the extent that we should be, to be
Right,
frank.
so I think what Bill and I were talking
Yeah.
about, maybe as opposed to not getting too much into the weeds at the board meeting, is to task you guys to really look at that report at the next board meeting, how we can incorporate the features that Beacon has, so that we can really fine tune our bills to make sure that we're not creating, a billing error potentially. I think, certainly with the residentials, but again, it's every 4 months. We're recognizing a high read, and there's a mechanism for a billing adjustment through those with the policy that the board has set up, but. We've had a couple of pretty large burps. On some of the large ones that, kind of looking at these, getting extras before the bill gets sent out is probably helpful, so maybe we can task you guys with looking at that and reporting back in May.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, again, I don't think the residential has that capability that the better meters do.
It doesn't, but
Right,
there's a
Uh, mechanism
mechanism in place already that we can reflect adjustments to those.
Yeah, no, we'll take a look at it. We'll have something for May.
But I should also note that as good as the numbers are, the quality of the numbers, the ability to rely on the numbers has improved just amazingly, over the past few months. And, everyone should have comfort on looking at these numbers and know that they're real. And so.
There's the guy in the corner, reporting from high over Manhattan.
Yes. And the timing of them too.
Yeah.
It's all good.
Moving in the right direction.
How's the audit going?
And so we've done some preliminary work already. So, a lot of the work now is done off-site, and then the hope is that we get them here for a day or two, we can ship them out. So, it's going well. We're trying to plan the actual field work. It's probably gonna be, the original thought was mid-May. I was having to come out and with the intent of having a report sometime between that period and the end of June to have an actual financial statement, which would put us about 3 months ahead of last year. So, but no, we feel pretty good about it. We did, RF and I, did the lion's share of those schedules that we're just gonna have to redo and update. And we've been kind of doing it as we're going along, knowing that's coming. So I'm as bad as I felt about it last year, I feel as phenomenal about it this year. And really, so and a really good group at EFPR, real bright young partner there that's working with us, and we kind of think can also help us with our cycles and some of our operation things as well. So we're trying to utilize them a little more, given what we're paying them, and they've been great to work with, especially since it was their first year. And that could go either way. I've been through that before, and they were great. So
Yeah, Any other questions for Bill or Chris? Thank you very much. Next is the commissioner's report, but before Joe starts, every once in a while, he lets me announce good news. And the good news is that the Common Council passed legislation allowing us to hire people from Albany County and adjacent counties.
Simply what they did is they modified the new local law has changed the residency requirement, where that now becomes a preference on a competitive basis. So, we're looking at bringing people in from any county that adjoins Albany, which really broadens our pool quite dramatically. But really where it's most impactful is just within Albany County itself, where there could be, qualified candidates that have established families and kids in school and residences like in Gilder and Bethlehem Colony, et cetera, and we have not been able to really bring them on. So we're confident that that's gonna improve our pool eligibility dramatically. Film at 11.
That's awesome.
And Rebecca will be very happy. with that.
Yeah.
He started breathing again when Joe announced it.
Well, it's interesting because before the next, we started actually getting some more applicants and we have hired a junior engineer who is going to be graduating from SUNY College in May, Mahmoud Al Farsi, right? He will start sometime thereafter.
May 12th.
May 12th, thank you. And we think he's gonna be a good candidate. He has a different kind of a background. It's like a sustainability from an engineering perspective. And his father is in the water industry, so municipal water industry, so he interviewed really well. We think he's gonna fit in a really good slot for our engineering group. We've got a co-op student from RIT, we put an offer out to. And so I think we're gonna expand our pool of candidates a little bit for our pool of employees for the summer. Because right now Rebecca is slammed and Katie is slammed and we're bandwidth limited at this point, because Bill's got more than he can do.
Yeah.
And if I start working in engineering, I know we're in trouble. So that's kind of where we're at. So with KPI, instead of showing I didn't put the Excel numbers in this month, even though they're done, but I wanted to show some slides that I share. These people like the whole slideshow, or just start slideshow. Just go to the next one. And again, one of the things that the mayor asked us to look at, all department heads, as she's winding her term down, is what are the priorities, top priorities for each of the departments. And obviously, the commitment we made to the community as part of the community impact or benefit when we did the Beaver Creek thing was to do the Lincoln Park Warning Garden. So we're going to talk about that a little bit later, but that certainly is one of our top priorities: complete and implement the fluoridation project. That was something, again, that the mayor feels very strongly about. Common Council adopted the law, and we are proceeding with that. As we said, we are following the science and not the politics. And from my perspective, I think it's really important that we fully staff our budgeted positions to allow us to complete our mission. Right now, we cannot flush hydrants and pothole at the same time. We don't have enough people. So that's a challenge for us. And again, trying to be able to even recruit the blue collar folks has been a problem. So those are things we're addressing. Next one. So again, this is where we've kind of been looking at what the impact of COVID was on our water production and consumption. So you go back and you look at, this was through March, and you go back and look at pre-COVID, and you can see the year-to-date, this is 1.5 billion gallons. We dropped down, over we dropped down 100 million gallons on year-to-date during COVID, and we come back up a little bit. You can see 2025. Some of this is going to be reflected by precipitation and all that stuff. So in the first 3 months of the year, it's not maybe really counting us a lot. I may actually stop showing this because I think what we're looking at, we're impacted by COVID. And then we're impacted by the ceasing of the purchase contracts with Bethlehem and Guilderland. So some of the decrease here, oh God, yeah, but we're lower than we were, back here. Yeah, but we don't have Bethlehem and Guilderland drawing like they were 1 million gallons a day. You know, so I think this is probably the new normal where we're at now, and then we'll go to the next one. So that also shows, you know, I'm sorry, the next one. So thank you, Ari, for getting financials out quickly, because normally we have this meeting with the mayor, it's like the second Thursday of every month. And I usually get the financials the third month, the Monday after that. So it's good that I can actually get some of this stuff in a more timely fashion. And so, again, I think as we talked about before, you look at the 2025 revenue, that's the cash collections on the top line, 2025. That's a big number, we're actually over our budgeted number, the way we're budgeting, I'll take it.
Yeah.
And it's a pretty good pop from where we were in 2024, 2023. Of course, that also reflects rate increases that we had those years as well, as Bill talks about, you know, once these things get baked into cake, they certainly, you know, are gonna annualize moving forward with that. What was I gonna point out? I have no idea what 2020 number was. I don't know why that was so high that year. My sense, it might have been some year end, start year, things that happened.
So, yeah, those numbers are a little.
They're a little early. I have no idea what that is. So I just don't know what that's looking like. And again, the expenses, 2019, 2020, a lot of those are timing on when we, through March, when we pay sewer bills and stuff like that. So I'm kind of discounting that a little bit, but I'm more looking at the 2021 to, you know, the part past COVID a little bit. So I think we're heading in the right direction and, again, the expenses are gonna be going up. We're starting to really look at larger items that we didn't buy the last couple of years. We're looking at vehicles, dump trucks, and God knows what else we're looking at, so, next one. This is, lead service replacements that we're looking at. You'll see this number in 2025 increase dramatically. So the bigger one, we gave her this big, you know, engineering spreadsheet, there's too much information. So she just wanted to, what's looking at the last 3 years trending on the lead services. So in 2025, we're actually doing with the contract, we're kind of tying our lead service replacements into the city's paving contracts. So we're doing like 6 a day now with the contracting, so that's a number kind of keep in the back of your mind, because we're gonna talk about the consent, the administrative order that we've got on the agenda, so we'll go to the next one. We have preventive maintenance issues, that I'm concerned, I call them productivity issues. So we're looking at, if we're trying to clean 350,000 feet of sewer a year, we gotta increase the rate at which we're doing that. Obviously, we can't do it in the wintertime in cold weather, with the freezing temperatures. But we've got to get better at that. And, you know, we usually do the PM work in the evening. We have just one crew in the sewer crew. The jet truck drives around all night and they park and they clean sewers and it's entertainment for the neighborhood. So I make sure they do my neighborhood too. And people are, it smells at dinner time, well, you know, close your window. But, and there's camera as well. So the camera helps us, because as we inspect the sewers as part of our asset management, that tells us does the sewer need to be lined? And, you know, that's helping a little bit. So we really need to up that a little bit. So I'm challenging our sewer operations managers and foreman to be a little bit better on that. Can this scroll down a little bit? I want to kind of look at. There you go, thanks. So, we talk about leak detection. Oh, this is where I was looking at. Hydrants tested and inspected. We've inspected 3 hydrants this year. We have 33,547 hydrants in the city of Albany. They should be inspected every year. So we try to say, well, let's inspect them every 3 years. You know, can we get 1,000 done? We're lucky to get 500 or 600 done on a good year. That needs to change. So somehow we need to figure it out. Does that mean more people, a dedicated crew, that all they do is hydro flushing? The answer is yes. If other cities can do it with one or 2 people, why can't we do it with 3 people? You know, so we gotta figure it out. We can be better. But the one thing I do like to look at, and Mike Rudy came in and talked to you guys about leak detection with fixed sensors and stuff. So the leak detection with loggers, that's when we put the acoustic things out at night, overnight, we come back, pick them up the next day. So we're pretty good at that. Our goal is to do 500,000 feet a year. we'll probably hit pretty close to that this year, and, you know, we do find leaks with that. But the fixed sensors that we're putting in hydrants, they're good, they're working. Well, so far, we've got we had in March, 98 sensors deployed, covered about 52,000 feet, we found 5 leaks. And that's
One of them was on my street.
Well, we just made that one up.
No, no.
So
And it was fantastic. They found, they had to open up the ground with a lot of water. And they prevented the street from collapsing. It was terrific.
Well, that's what they told me.
Well,
Right now, we're putting the sensors out on hydrants in Arbor Hill. You know, it's a little concentrated, it's older systems, so we think we're able to, really, that's gonna be pretty effective. We're committing, and this is where Chris is starting to go, you guys are spending a lot of money, but we're looking at upping that number of these fixed sensors. If we put them on 1,000 or so hydrants, we can cover a whole city. So that's kind of where we're at now. We're gonna try to make that commitment this year. Sorry, Chris. Next one.
What are they called? They're $1,000 a piece?
No, not quite that big. So the injury report, Sarah could talk to this a little bit, but, you know, we were tracking to pretty close to where we were last year. You know, even though we got some incident reports, medical treatment lost time is down a little bit. Although it looks like we got potentially a rotator cuff. I don't know what's going on with that.
The one day that he went to the doctor,
Good.
he's been back.
So we're hoping that there was one of our guys injured a rotator cuff yanking on a hose. Suck it up, you know, I got that problem too with a golf bag, but next week. C-click fix, this is why I just this is monitored, the mayor looks at this and it's a big deal. There's a C-click fix that's reported every week. And what I'm proud of in the water department is we said to get these things closed within like 2 weeks. Some of the topics in other departments, they set targets to close within 6 months. All right, and I mean, it's a little more, they got more things going on. DGS has horrific C-click fixes to potholes, trees, garbage, trash out too early. They have a lot of that. We don't. We have four items. The ones that are most problematic for us are sinkholes, because a lot of times we can't close it. The sinkhole's associated with a private sewer lateral, so we can't really close that until we have some plan for what's gonna happen with that. But Kobe does a hell of a job monitoring, just getting on top of this stuff, getting crews out to get these things closed pretty quickly. So our days to close are pretty good. And I track, are we going down, we're going up, we only have one open C-click fix when I looked at this on April 15th. So I'm sure it's more than that now. This just kind of tracking, we really are trying to show what the percentage construction of this is the only Beaver Creek projects we still have going. Those of you who are driving down Rensselaer Street and down towards the port, we get the open, that's where we're doing the tide gate project to keep the river from coming back in. We were 73% with that, we're probably a little bit further on that now, we found some additional work to do that we're hooking, and this one we're gonna talk about today. Going to the next one. And these are just all of the different lead service contracts that, lead service replacements that we're involved with. Again, some of these are getting truncated a little bit, but this is where I mentioned before about we're gonna have a lot of lead services over the next few weeks. This contract is underway, this contract is out to bid. This is a Central Avenue project that goes from Lexington out to, I think, Allen Street. That's gonna be starting up a little bit, and Manning Boulevard just was bid. The contract's gonna be awarded, all of them have lead replacement components in there, and that's where we're really gonna start making some progress on the replacement program. Next one,
Are you also replacing meters too?
yes,
Yeah.
well, yes, yeah. And this is where Katie is kind of busy, so getting a co-op student in and another kind of assistant will help with doing some of this work. And again, our fluoridation, we're kind of getting ready to get that out to bid. The line feed systems are working down at the plant. Again, that we're trying to go to a liquid lime. It's a little easier to handle for us, and we're also doing lime addition up at the Loudonville Reservoir. And that enables us to make sure we have a pH over 9 when we outflow from Loudonville, and that enhances our corrosion control program and keeps the lead stuck to the pipes instead of coming out. I think that's it. These are just our sewer projects. Academy, we're doing some, just some restoration to get that done. Sewer lining project, we're waiting to get a contract approved by EFC. I think that finally got approved. That's last year's lining that we're gonna start doing now. Hackett Boulevard Stormwater is kind of an add-on to this. We're in design with that. I checked with Rebecca this morning. Hopefully we'll try to get that out to bid shortly. This North Hawk Street, that we had a GI, a green infrastructure grant on. One of our consultants working with a former employee, I think went down a rabbit hole. We weren't happy with what we're looking at for results, so we're kind of kicked that back into a redesign. So we need to get that done so we can keep the grant. I think that's all I had on those. Those are, yeah, Steve will do it later. That's on the agenda.
I have a question,
Sure.
probably for you and Chris, as it pertains to the tariffs that are on and off, on and off. How might that impact what the water department does? Or does?
I'm not sure. I think I don't know, the only client, our high user client, SUNY, right, the nano guys.
Yeah, I
What
think,
they're making it ship, so I'm not sure if it's a get material someplace, but I think it's too early to
As
tell.
it pertains to the supplies that the water department has to buy.
No, for the supply base, most of our stuff's American made.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Okay, okay.
We do get some high maxes from Israel. If I buy some of my clothes from China, you know, but other than that, I think we're. Where the golf clubs maybe.
I mean, Anthony, there'll probably be any commodity is gonna have some impact. Our vendors are gonna have things that are made overseas.
Supply chain, components.
So have we seen anything yet? Not really, but there'll be something. There's no question about it.
Haven't the vehicles sort of been late? I think we got a truck yesterday that.
Yeah, but that has nothing, that was just.
Okay.
But I guess future vehicles would be impacted if there were tariffs that were.
Yeah, potentially, yeah. Still be more expensive, but that'll be next year.
Thank you.
Yeah, anything vehicle related just seems to be expensive irrespective of tariffs or whatever. You know, we just saw, Eric just reminded me of $45,000 forklift. I thought these things were $12,000. You know, so it just comes across the environment overall is just supercharged with the excess cost, in my view.
You wanna go over Bill's?
Well, I want to talk about a couple.
Oh, sorry.
So it's yard hydrant eligibility, I didn't realize how many yard hydrants, legacy yard hydrants are throughout the city. You know, we started looking at common routes and everybody else and regards, there's probably 100 yard hydrants through the city. So we had put up a policy a couple years ago for not-for-profits that wanted to put yard hydrants on vacant property. They were generally for the intent of a garden or some use associated with that. Eden's Rose Foundation, I think, was one, and there are a couple other ones. But periodically, we see a resident who buys a piece of property, residential vacant lot, and they want to put a garden up there and open it up for the community. So how do we want to look at that? You know, do we encourage that? Do we provide a yard hydrant? Maybe work with them to provide some materials, and maybe we have to make some payment for that. But do we make them pay for the water? Or do we pay for the water to spend the sewer bill? It's a rhetorical question to put before the board, not looking for an answer today, but some kind of a direction. Now, I know when, of course, we're not Philadelphia, but I walk through Philadelphia and there's community gardens all over the place, vacant lot development. And what would you rather have in a vacant lot, a community garden or, Needle City and trash all over the place? And so we can contribute to the common good, I think, perhaps, by having some practice or policy that the board adopts that allows us to have some engagement with the community for those types of efforts. So I've kind of softened my position out about, geez, another yard hydrant, Are we in a position that we can suspend a billing for someone that is doing a project like that? And we could certainly say, hey, if it starts using anything else, we're still metering the water. If it gets to be crazy, maybe Chris, that's when we can look at, hey, wait a minute. This is an unusual amount.
I'm washing on, you got a car wash on the weekends.
Yeah, it's, so it's kind of out there. I guess the older I get, the more maybe community based I'm thinking about, but that is a better look. And we had, this was probably 6 years ago. And there's a guy, it was like 11 Judson Street. He had a lot next door. He says, hey, I want to put a yard hydrant in. And, I can do it as a garden stuff. And I think at that time, he probably paid for it. He probably has a billing account. And then, Ally B's, I can't even remember her real name. She did some work up on First Street and I think it was First and Quail. And again, it was for kind of a community garden. Well, I think we kind of did that, and then they did the Black Nurses Association. If you drive by Livingston Avenue and Colony, I think it's Livingston and Colony Street, that corner line. They made it like a beautiful little park, they have a yard hydrant in there. And we probably just put that in, suspended the account. But there's no kind of rhyme or reason, there's no overarching umbrella policy or concept on how we want to address that.
Are there costs associated? Do we have to shut the hydrants down in the fall and?
That's a pretty easy thing. I mean, you just,
You got 100, that's,
yeah, but we've been doing it,
yeah.
And it's just like you're driving around, you just shut them off. It's not a lot of work. I know.
It sure makes a difference in the city, I think.
Yeah, here's a community garden on Hartford Road. You've been there for a long time. We actually had to replace an original yard hydrant that's probably 20 years old. And then requested a second one. The community garden's huge. And so our guys were thinking about running, a line down to where this other yard hydrant was gonna be. I'm thinking, why would you want a 3/4 inch line, 200 feet to put another yard hydrant in when you can run 50 feet off the water main and put a yard hydrant in? You're gonna have any pressure running all that. If you have 2 yard hydrants from all that pipe, you're gonna have any water coming out, so. It's things, how do we wanna handle these things? So maybe think about it a little bit, and I can probably have a little more formal proposal before the board next month to consider. But I'm inclined to think that we want to provide some benefit for people doing that, if the board agrees. I mean, this is a board decision. But we're out there, we're kind of doing the work.
We've been doing it.
Yeah, but maybe there is some upfront cost sharing. Maybe they put it in, we give the materials, they put it in, like a resident doing it. But, they still gotta put the pit in, the backflow prevention and all the meter and stuff. Do we build them for water, not charge for the sewer? That's A. Don't build them for anything, B, they pay for everything, C. But my sense is if they have a yard hydrant in it, it's a permeable ground, I would probably give it a pass on the sewer. We'll put something together and get in front of you next month, is that? And if anybody has any thoughts on it in the meantime, let me know, and I can bake that in the recipe. Alcove RFPs. Amy's talked before about the police having the shooting range down at the alcove in the old quarry, Reed Burns down there. So we requested proposals from two consultants. One is one of our master service agreement, the other one is Ty and Bond. They're a firm with an increasing presence in the area. I'm familiar with them from a long time ago. They're a pretty strong civil environmental firm, primarily out of New England. They have offices in Troy. So I asked both of those firms for a proposal to do some preliminary investigation work on this quarry to see what, if any extent, there is from the impact of the APD shooting range down there. And if there needs to be a remediation, we can identify what it is and identify APD, what the responsibility might be for a cleanup, because we're obligated to clean it up. And we've kind of put them in a moratorium, so they haven't really used that data until we get this stuff sorted with. So I got two proposals, just got them. We have some questions on it, so I'm not prepared to ask for a resolution today, but one of the proposals, in my view, initially seemed like it addressed everything we wanted to do. And it's about $25,000 to essentially go out, take some soil samples, do a couple borings, grab some analysis, we call it a T-clip. It's a characterization leaching procedure, so you would simulate what would happen if this stuff went into the groundwater. And so we're gonna do that kind of analysis. It's about 25,000. The other guys gave us a proposal. I think it's a little bit over scoped. It was gonna give us a phase one environmental site assessment, which we don't really need, in my view. We just need the data, because we can analyze the data with the skill sets here. So I'm inclined to think we're gonna be looking to CT Mail to do a preliminary investigation for 25,000 or less. We may want to try to get that started sooner. So I'm not sure what the flavor of the board might be, if we can kind of get a head start on that and then confirm that with a resolution in May. But it's pretty straightforward work. We did get proposals from firms we thought were qualified, and frankly, I thought it was gonna be more than 25,000, so I'm kind of happy with that number.
How do you all feel? It makes sense to me.
Yeah, Amy would be very happy.
Yeah,
Amy's been trying to get APD to do this work for 6 years, so I have talked to Chief Cox about it, and so they'd like to get some resolution as well, because we really don't want to do any more activity down there until we figure out what's the impact of the lead has been from shooting range for all those years. So in any event, that's that. I mean, the administrative order consent, Bill, I think Bill talked about that last month, the
Yes.
EPA. And we did get some clarification on that. One of the things that we learned that since we were over the action level for a couple of times, we had this order of consent. And when you do that, you're required to replace 3% of your known lead services. Well, we may have 10,000.
7%.
Oh, 7, okay, whatever percent it was, of the known lead services. So we have maybe 9,000-10,000 lead service, but we only know that there's like 2,500 of them. So whatever number that's gonna be to replace, we already have done that, we'll have done that by June of this year, so it has a minimal impact on what we're trying to do. And as even the folks in EPA and the DEC or the health department said we're on the call, you guys are actually ahead of the game. So the order and consent's a formality. And we've done the sampling we've done so far, we are, I'd hate to jinx myself, but we're substantially under the number to date. So we've got more sampling. We just started for the second batch, and if that continues, we'll have one period that will be under. If we go under 2 periods from under, then we're out of Dodge with the order of consent. So that's
Can
that.
I add something? And I was on the call with EPA. When it came out, Katie thought that we had to do 7% of all 10,000 or whatever it was. And they said, oh, no, just the ones you know. And Katie sort of went, huh? Well, 7% of that would be like 150. We've already done that. And she
Well,
came
no,
away with it.
The interesting part
It was
is when
amazing.
that question was raised, because I was on that call.
Yeah, go with
There was a pregnant pause.
Yeah.
And that's because they didn't know what the answer was.
Uh-huh.
So I think they kind of got into it's what you know they are,
Yeah.
which makes sense, but that was not cast in stone until that was really asked.
Yeah.
So, because we were going, oh my God, how are we gonna get,
Right.
you know?
Well, the other part of that I read was we do have to give a plan for inventory.
Yeah.
And was Katie able to just give what she's been working on? And
Yeah,
that's
again,
great.
what we're doing is what we're doing, but this is where I pushed her a little bit on this potholing. We did get a $2 million grant for the inventory, so we're using some of that for things that we're doing now. But I'd like to, I've asked her to put an RFP out for potholing, specific potholing, because somebody can go out with a little vac X and boom, 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 they can pop these things out quickly, more quickly than we're able to do them. So that's kind of where we are on that. Is there anything under that for? Yeah, we already talked about the Learning Garden project a little bit. We did get bids on that, and all that material was distributed to the board.
Yes.
Were there any questions on all that? I mean,
We're gonna have to cough up more money.
well, I think when you remember
We
before
should.
that we had committed as part of the grant, we had committed a portion of board funds to get the contract. With the grant award to get the work out. And when the bids came in, I think we wound up at a certain number where we'd have to cough up a little bit more money to do that. So the question is part of that, is there a package out that went out that?
Yeah, it's in the resolution, the contract,
But there was information I went out to the board that had a little beef to it.
yeah, that was a memo from
So I
Rebecca.
remember
And the number, we committed about 800,000 4 years ago. And it looks like it's gonna be about 1.2 million.
yeah, we're
we
talking
have
about
to commit.
300,000+ more. So we're talking about 1 point something out of our funds to cover that cost.
And your question to Chris, I thought was important, do we have it? Out of
Well,
reserve?
let me just, before we,
Yeah,
two of the things that were in that money. That we had a couple of ad alternates, one, we talked about, we have to do the building, the outdoor classroom. The question, do we wanna do a sundial, do we wanna do the labyrinth, these are other features of that park? Or wait, try to do them at some future date. I'm not a big kick the can down the road person, so if you're gonna do it, that type of thing, but. Again, that's not my decision, it's a question of, do we have the funds? So I think that was another, was it 70,000, was that?
no, that was in the 1.3 million that we.
I know, but what, of the 1.3 million, what was that
Oh, the
number?
breakdown?
That's what I was asking, I don't have it in front of me,
Yeah.
that's why I was wondering if we had it up on the board. No, in the future, we're probably have all the content out.
Was that the email you're talking about?
Yes.
From Rebecca.
Yeah.
Thanks, James. So the play equipment, the sundial, the labyrinth is about
Outdoor classroom, yeah.
120,000 and so that's a question, I guess that would be the ask of the board, if that's something that they want to include in the board funding for the project or not. And I think when we put the proposal out to the community, we talked about the base, getting the project done, getting the outdoor classroom in. We talked about some of these add alternates as amenities based on available funding. So that's really a board decision whether or not they wanted to include that, if they felt the funding was available to make that happen now.
The reality is, that's what the forecast is meant to tell us in June. What does our finances look like if we take $1.2 million of our own cash out? Can we, operate sufficiently on that through the next 6 months, and then how does that affect 2026 and our potential rate hike? So reality is, if it's a really $1.2 million number, it's not ideal. The good thing is that we've not touched our Fidelity account since I've been here. And the interest is probably going up almost $1 million. It's going from $8 to about $9 million or so sitting in that account. So we've been able to operate out of our normal operating account, which always seems to hover between 5 and 8 million. That's like $8 million. So it's usually about 5. But we can keep it to that $5 million number. And if we do have to take down some amounts from the Fidelity account, I think we can do it sort of quasi back of the envelope. Not ideal, but it's something we committed to. I don't think we have a choice.
No, we don't have a choice. We
Yeah.
did commit to it. We
Yeah.
committed at least the 800 and some thousand.
Yeah,
So
That's
and that was the
grant.
original number that I heard was 800 all of a sudden, yeah. But long story short, we'll just have to work around it.
So we're either talking $1,012,000 or $1,133,000. That was $100,000 delta.
Is it unreasonable to think that we cannot go back to the city and say, of the 900,000 we're paying them, that we take it out of that for this year?
I've got 250 days left before I'm not with the city. I'd like to keep those out.
Good idea, Bill.
I'm not sure if that's answering the question, but.
That's the kind of thought leadership we need around here. I'm with you on that, Mr. County.
All right, let me know how you make out.
and also the city has problems, I mean, I'm gonna defend the city here, it's unusual, but. The first numbers I heard for the pool were about 12 or 13 million.
We're at 23 million now.
No, Martin said on Monday they were 30 million.
I just saw the change orders at 23, but
He said
I don't know.
30. I was shocked. And so they've got problems. Even if it's 23 or whatever, it's a lot of.
well, they've got some private money coming into that as well. I don't know how much of that, you know. I think Ed Mitchell was one of the guys that had helped putting that together to make a $10 million commitment, but. And frankly. They talk about, it's not really a million, some one year there was like 700,000, there's some magic number, but. This project is a commitment that we made as a community benefit that everybody bought into, so I think we own this.
I do too. I feel very strongly that you.
We have to, because somebody will come back with a document that was sent out some time ago.
Well, we did a video showing everything.
Yeah.
To me, it's.
Do it.
Personally, I made that comment, so I own it, you know, I own it on behalf of the water department and the board, so. You know, if we don't do it, I'm uncomfortable.
I think it's something.
You all okay with
We just
that?
have to figure out how to.
And I think the other thing now that number's known, that helps Chris and Arif as they look at forecasting and sources and uses of funds on what, if anything, we can do in the future from that account. You know, maybe restricts a little tighter, because Chris talked about, you know, what the base is, and you want to have at least that money in there for rainy day. So, you know, well, it helps us, I think, from a planning perspective. And frankly, I don't think we want to go back with another double-digit rate increase next year. And just off the cuff, I think we want to try to shoot for something less than that.
Well, hopefully there's some upside on some grants that we haven't received yet that we're still working on as well, right?
The reimburse, yeah.
We have some reimbursements out there that hopefully can offset some of that stuff, and then I know Bill, if you were here, I think had some other things, I don't know if it's magic.
So I think the
But,
other thing you need to look at, and again, this is down the road. You're gonna have a different flavor in Washington for at least the next couple of years. And what does that mean for money that's gonna flow from the feds to the states to allow for some of these grants to occur? And what's gonna happen with EPA? What's gonna happen with some of these things that, you know, New York's very different from Utah, you know, or something like that. So how's that gonna impact what expectations are for lead service replacements? Is there gonna be another infrastructure act? I don't think so. Not certainly not in the next couple, 3, 4 years. So does that mean at some point, if we continue to have administrative order and consent, you have to replace so many lead services, where's that money gonna come from? You know, so does that mean we can't always do that through operations? Does it mean we do another financing specifically for lead? Question, it's something to think about as part of your planning. Because we're gonna have to come up with that money somehow.
I wondered on the consent order call, is EPA gonna be there to enforce the consent order?
Well, again, go back and look at a commitment that Mayor Sheehan made and we bought into
Right.
about getting the lead services replaced within 10 years. That was before
Anything.
came out of EPA. We made that commitment back in 2019. We're a little slow with it. Our goal is to get the lead services removed from the city of Albany by 2034, whether EPA is there or not. So how do we bake that in your financing? You know, where's that money coming from? So, on that good note, else we got? Fluoridation project, we're working comments back in the health department, and the goal is to get that out to bid. And now that my wife is worried that people know where we live, that was kind of interesting, so. I said, well, you can spend more time in Pennsylvania. Scranton financing, Bill's report that he passed out. You all saw that. Bill talks to a lot of the items in there. I'm only gonna address a couple things that we haven't talked about on the second page. It's got the water main improvements. Bill put an RFP, we got a couple of RFPs back to do some water main improvements. They're being reviewed now. I think the requests were made to 2 of our natural services firms for some preliminary engineering reports and on those water main improvements. So we'll probably have more to talk about next month. On the lead service line replacement, I know the second bullet, Katie's working on a force account reimbursement request. I'm not quite sure where that is, but that could be pretty substantial for the work that we're doing with our own funds. And then the inventory I mentioned before about getting an RFP for potholing. That's that drink of the drinking water 19609 number that's down here. And the one right under that, again, the 4 days, we're planning to get that out in mid-May. Next page. We had the Lincoln Park, that's an active one, the Lincoln Park project. Academy Road, the additional scope for the Hackett Storm Collection project, which is right there. That's I talked to Rebecca about that this morning, and we're kind of getting some design concepts squared away for that one to get that one done as well. That was pretty much only the real active things that are going on. The tie gate project, which I think we talked about before when we're driving down through downtown. We found some additional roof repairs we have to do that Lisa's working on. We'll try to get a status report updated and out to the board on that soon. I'm not sure. There are a lot of else, I think, it's pretty, not much has changed on those, so since Phil has talked to the board about it. What else did we have? That's all of our report. Any questions on any things that we kicked around a little bit or talked about? Really now? So I owe the board have a little bit of a thing ahead of time about yard hygiene, because I'll try to get that out in advance of the next meeting.
Laura, you're up, and you indicated to me you wanted to do a executive session,
Yes.
and since we're live, let's think about that. You wouldn't want to do that at the end,
Usually we do.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
probably makes the
so
most
when
sense.
we delay your report to after we do resolution, so we can go into executive session and adjourn and be done.
Oh, that's great.
Good, so, Steve, are you ready?
Sure.
Okay, sure thing.
Good morning. Good morning. Right, so. March, so as you can see. Views continued that downtrend. I think we saw a lot of that in the first quarter of the year across many social platforms, and it wasn't just us. I think the national conversation for the first 3 months of the year really dominated everything. And on top of that, and I get it in that bottom box there under the continued downtrend. So much on social media is ad driven, right? These platforms are free. They're free for us to use. These folks have got to make money some way to keep the servers running, to keep doing what they do. So when you go through your feeds, we're starting to see more and more ads. We're starting to get targeted more with things because they understand you as a person, what you want to buy, right? So if you're on social media, you're starting to see, oh, I really like that shirt. And it's true. And so that's where so much of the traffic comes through. So to get through that noise, through that wall organically is becoming a little bit more of a challenge. We have to get a little bit more creative. And so however, I'm happy to know, I just before this meeting, I did check April's numbers and they are starting to swing back up. I believe that the conversation is starting to calm a little bit. And we're starting to see a little bit more engagement back in from the community. Maybe it's the nicer weather. Maybe it's just other initiatives that we've got going on. I'm not sure, but the numbers are starting to finally start to move back up again. The top post of the month was with Mike behind me. That was really quite funny. It was not staged. I was filming on the corner. And I saw him coming out of the corner of my eye, but I didn't know it was him. I had no idea. I knew it was one of our trucks, but I was like, okay, I'm just gonna keep going. And if maybe someday I'll show you the unedited version of me using language because I knew he was behind me doing something, and I was like, so but the timing couldn't have been more perfect, and it really got a lot of reactions. It was really good. And I think when we start to see
our crews that are out on the street and other aspects of our business. And we're starting to show people those things now that our fellowship has really started to pop up. People are starting to enjoy the content. They're starting to get to know who we are as a department. And I think we're going to start to continue to do those things, to try to do that. Other posts of note, the lead service line replacement program, we posted that up. And the two gentlemen here, Mike again, Mike Acosta and Corey Lee, were nice enough to share some photos of them while they were in the pit doing some work. And we want to just let people know, hey, these guys have been here for X amount of time. These gentlemen are really prideful of their work, and we want to continue to make sure that we're showing the good positive things that we have across the city. Winter water testing, was another piece that started to get some good traction out there. It might be hard to see on here, but that is a picture of the alcove, and there we go. Thanks, Karen. And we were way out there out on the ice doing some sampling. So I'm gonna move to the last part. So we launched our newsletter, which I don't have something to show on screen, unfortunately, but everybody has a copy here. Chuck's smiling face on the front. We're gonna hopefully have someone do a quote. If anybody on the board would like to be on next month's, I'd be happy to do so, or
Yes.
following month. I'm looking at the finance committee to see if they would like to do the same thing. And so we'd like to just try to make sure that everybody here that's internal has a little bit of, kind of who you are, that's up there at the top, just a little blurb, kind of encouragement, and really is helping with some morale.
Who are we distributing the newsletter to?
It's internal, so it's everybody, it's all the departments here internally.
Have we thought about maybe broadening that to some of the other city employees?
We could.
Okay, what I'm thinking about.
And the board.
Sure.
Well, it would be the boards as well. Would it help to maybe profile a short bio of each of the board members every month?
Yeah, we can do that.
Pick a different board member every month and authority.
Yeah, we can do that.
Like we can do that.
You want them to come after us when the fluoride, anti-fluoride people. Boy, you are transparent, Chris Hawkins.
Company, yeah.
That's a new profile of Bill.
Also put a corporate counsel on there too.
Oh.
Great consultant.
Free advertising it, that's it.
Yeah.
Good.
And so on the horizon, the water quality report is in redesign. I think Joe Raffat's got that in front of DOH right now.
Yeah, we're done with what we think is the report for 2024. We shoot it to Max Ferris at the county health department. He gives us the thumbs up, and once it's a thumbs up, it gets officially submitted to the DOH, and then we publish it. We'll print out a bunch of copies, and like we did last year.
Yeah.
It was really an improvement last year. It's fabulous.
Thanks. Yeah, and so this year's water quality report is going to tie in back to the water bottles. Last year we had gotten the new water bottles, and we're going to kind of continue to tie that together and make more awareness around just reusing a reusable water bottle at every turn that we possibly can, and not using single-use plastic.
Have you told Chris about buying that $250,000 truck to?
It's not 250, it's only 60, 65.
Was it the water truck?
Yeah, the
No,
water.
no, we're simpatico on this one. I like
Yeah,
that idea.
yeah, it's a great.
That was only kids.
It actually can make some money for
We
us.
were talking about
We
this.
can actually lease it out.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea.
Yeah. Engineering recruitment strategy. So great news with the residency requirement that it's going to help us immensely across all areas. So, but the engineering recruitment strategy is in full effect. We've gotten some real good traction from LinkedIn, which has been just from organic, from just all of us kind of posting together on things. I think that's how we found our junior engineer, I believe.
Yeah, but we have there's about 4 or 5 of us on LinkedIn, and each of us took the recruiting. Yeah, that Steve put together, and I think they did have a positive impact.
Yeah, and I want to continue that at Tool Fest. I want to just have a banner there and continue to use that event as a recruitment tool as well, to make sure that, people are just aware, but just not for engineer, for all positions. I think we need to take that opportunity. We got FaceTime in the community, we need to use it to maximize as much of that as possible. Truck vehicles and decals. We've got some new crew trucks coming, some big box trucks. Working with Frank Arquino to kind of pretty those up. We're gonna use those sides as space to really just let people know that that's what that truck is, not just the decal that's on the door. You can see it on, if you, Karen, if you can want to zoom in on Mike there. Right now, that's that decal that's under him. That's pretty much, that's all that's just about there right now. The box truck on the back is gonna have a nice large logo, Albany's colors, and you know, just a phone number, an emergency where to contact kind of thing, just to let people know that that's who it is exactly on site. A little bit more, a little more punch up on that.
Yeah, I mean, years past, when I came here, we had the department's phone number was on it and, you know, emergency contact, but we're gonna go back to that.
And Tulip Fest is coming, so we're getting ready for that. And we've got a booth that's gonna be 10 by 20. We're gonna be in a pretty good spot this year, I think. And I really, I'm looking forward to this one. I think we're gonna have a lot of traffic come through. We're gonna be featuring, you know, our lead service replacement program. That's gonna be front and center again. Along with MS4, we've got the Stormwater Coalition, who's gonna be in there hanging out with us. We're gonna give them a little bit of space at our table to present some of those things in their partnership. And just all other of our departments, just to have some things there. Got some coloring sheets for the kids as they come through, and trying to think of a contest to just bring people in, just to say, hey, if you do this little thing, then you can get yourself a water bottle. We've also got these little stickers, I didn't bring them today, that people can put on their water bottles, but those stickers also do tie into the water quality report, and also encourage, you know, reusable water bottles. The water wall is still moving forward. I've spoken with the City School District of Albany. Joe, I'm gonna butcher his last name, the superintendent. And he's getting me in touch with their curriculum specialist for K through 12. We're gonna work on getting a curriculum. This is probably not going to be until a fall initiative earliest for us to do this. But it will be, we were working on an art installation, and it's going to be around single-use water bottles, trying to move away. Again, you guys all see the theme, you know, moving away from that and into a reusable, you know, water bottle. Bringing in some schools together. Albany Academy is on board. Their STEM program is really interested in participating, along with 3 of our charter schools currently. So we've got a good groundswell of interest, and next is going to be getting this committee together to kind of start to plan these things out, along with the other departments that are going to be involved. And then we've got to find a place to put this down, and then set the event and date to go. So that's pretty much where we're at. Any questions on anybody?
This is which day again?
The 10th.
10th.
Yeah.
Thanks, Steve.
Some other outreach, I know Hannah Doherty and the Watershed Group was interviewed by, I forget the name of the group, Steve, you remember?
Oh, I don't remember, shoot.
But we'll try to get that article distributed to the board members.
Yep.
I thought you did a nice job with it. And I think what you're seeing too, from an outreach and engagement, a lot of our folks are doing a lot more with the professional societies and organizations. I'm trying to get, there's a group called the American Metropolitan Water Agencies. It's the larger water utilities across the country. We just joined that a couple of years ago. And I'm trying to get some of our folks more involved in that. I think that gives us potentially more horsepower, I think, you know, with potential lobbying and engagement with electeds, which I think is important in this present environment. Plus, I think from a benchmarking perspective, we can learn a lot more than they share a lot of information. They do member surveys back and forth. And in fact, we provided a lot of information to other of these members. They had, how you guys manage geese in your watershed? Amy answered, you know, response back to that. So there's a lot of really good information sharing. And then at the Saratoga Waterworks thing this year, one of our operators again was successful in the top operator contest. So they get a trip to, I think this year, I forget where it's going this year.
You're gonna be in Denver.
Denver, yeah.
Yeah, Denver.
Yeah. Oh, they were in Las Vegas last year. Anyway,
So, and then we did, 2 of our guys wanted to get into the hydrant contest. And every year that they have to, 2 women from New York usually are just destroy everybody. They put a hydrant together in like a minute, 40 seconds. And so, just to tell you how cowardly men are, they actually separated the contest out this year to have a separate contest for the women. So I did have an, so they did, they had a contest for the women, and had a contest for the men. So our team did very well, they came in third. There were 3 teams in the contest, for the men. And I asked them what their time was, and they said, well, say we broke 3 minutes, it was 2 minutes. I said, what was the women's time? And they had to went on answer and they walked away from there. So they may have a separate division, but you're still going against the clock, so we'll be better next year.
And they weren't far behind the winner. You have a video of it, I think, don't you? Did
I-
Eric give you a video?
I don't have a video,
Oh,
just I got some photos, I can see. it.
Any evidence of our performance in that has been destroyed.
oh, maybe that's it.
Putting together a water, fire hydrant tip,
All the parts are on the ground.
okay? And-
I mean, it's totally disassembled, bolts, everything, the flanges, the stem. And I can show you what it looks like in our little practice room.
Okay.
We use it for training.
That's wild.
And so now our guys are really.
And 2 guys do it. They have to put it together.
And if they want to really see how it's done, I tell them, watch the women from New York City. Oh, they can do it blindfold, I mean, they're amazing. Anyhow.
That's how they practice. They practice blindfold,
Seriously?
the women.
Talent.
They also play for the Giants.
I got something on 500 blindfolded here.
I went up
No
there.
one can do that.
I saw.
Amazing.
All right, should we move on to the?
A lot of times, from my experience with the other, like a board, if there are items that Laura has that are non-executive session.
Yes.
They can be done live,
Mhm.
and then if there's other items for executive session, the board will adjourn that portion of the meeting, they go not live. They do the executive session, then they go back live,
Okay.
to say that nothing was decided in executive session, then they do the next meeting and blah, 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 so. That's just a protocol, another board wants to do.
Yes, that sounds
Should
good.
we do that first before the resolution? Should we?
Just, that's for however you want to do it.
Yeah,
Let's do-
I can do my 2 non-executive session items if you want to get those out of the way and then we can
Okay.
do resolutions. Oh,
Okay.
so the first non-executive session item is, the first bullet point there is the Habitat for Humanity purchase. These are this is the property down on Orange Street. Joe and I, each spoke to our respective counterparts from Habitat for Humanity. I got an indication from their council that they will complete construction in or about end of June, and then at that point would be ready to close. So we're looking at a July closing date. I haven't gotten a firm date from her, but that's, I can update the board once we get more of a firm date.
I urge you, go up Clinton Street, you can see, it's just phenomenal what they've done.
Yeah,
This one's on Orange though, right?
right.
Yeah,
This is a-
that piece is.
Yeah.
But it
Right,
goes between Orange and Clinton, it's quite something.
correct. And then the second non-executive session item is the 35 Erie Boulevard license agreement with Scene One. And that is up for adoption by the board by a resolution. That's just the period on the back and forth that we had with that tenant. They have signed the license agreement, so that is ready for the board's review and then Chuck's full execution on that. I was just checking in with Chris and his team to make sure that the payment for April has been made. I don't know that it has been, but I know March has been
March
made.
is a big, April's
Yeah.
not.
Technically it's due at the end of the month, so, but I'll follow up with him. In May, we'll be getting a chunk that would accommodate for the back payment for under the lease, so that's to come due in May. So,
The board should know that Laura has been a saint on this one. Joe and I just abstained. We could not deal with the guy. You were terrific.
so that one's coming to a point.
Thank you. I have one question on.
Yes.
And I may have missed it. Was there a termination date or on what Chuck's signing, or
So
or
let
is
me,
it just gonna keep going?
yeah, let me just pull that up. We've always put a termination date on it. There might be auto renewals, but let me just pull that. If we wanna talk about it at the time of the resolution adoption, then I can state that.
She's pulling it up.
Oh, that's okay. That's okay. I'm just curious.
Yeah.
I didn't go back to in the date here.
Right,
I
yeah.
read it and then was curious. So.
Yeah, just waiting for it to load here. Take a little bit of time. Okay. Yes, so the term of the license agreement is going to commence on the effective date, which would essentially be the date that we fully execute. So and actually it is defined in it's actually March 1st of 2025 is the
Right.
effective date. And then it expires at the end of the year. So, but it also automatically renews on the expiration date for an additional two 1-year terms.
Okay.
So,
Thank you.
At the same rate.
at the same
Yeah.
rate, yep. We can also terminate at any time,
Right.
we just have a notice requirement for that.
I was just wondering what we were able to get them to agree to.
Yes,
something.
yeah.
All right, let's go ahead. I wrote you all that this was gonna be a blockbuster meeting, and be two sort of big issues and small issues. And I thought we had a good discussion on the learning garden. And I think we're all comfortable with where we're going on that. I also wrote you about, Joe and I had some thoughts about honoring Warren Averill, and James had some concerns that we ought to talk to the mayor first. So what I'm gonna propose is that we hold off on the resolution today, and I'll ask James to follow up on how the mayor feels and then get back to us in May. Is that okay with you?
No, I'd rather you.
I don't wanna do it. I don't wanna waste the mayor's time. This is your concern. I think you ought to do it. You're a ward member, you're a member of her party, you know her. Ask her.
You're the chairman, I mean, you can ask.
I don't want to waste your time.
She don't mind coming from you wasting your time. Don't mind, you get that finesse.
Will you believe me if I tell you?
Yeah.
I think she'll be totally supportive of this. I was at his funeral, which she organized with Dave Gallen. And it was spectacular. They had 120 firemen, 400 people, the coffin on the fire truck. I mean, it was at bagpipers. It was incredible.
I just felt since you're the chairman.
I'd like to see you do it. If you're concerned about it, you do it.
Well, I don't want to do it.
You don't want to do it.
Would you be opposed to us voting on this today?
Well, yeah, you can go down.
All right, let's vote. Resolution 2527. Now therefore be it resolved that, I'm sorry, I read the wrong one. 2526. Now therefore be it resolved that the Albany Water Board authorizes the chairman to effectuate the appropriation of a donation in honor of Chief Warren Averill to the Albany Firefighters Museum in the amount of $1,000. And Joe and I wanted to leave the amount to the board. We thought either 500 or 1,000. Laura was very ambitious and put it at 1,000. How do you all feel? 500 or 1,000? I think 1,000 makes sense. Agree, all right. That'd be good. Okay, and then we'll notify if we approve this, we'll notify everybody about it. So, is there any further discussion? I have a motion to approve. So we'll second. All in favor? Aye. Those opposed?
Abstain.
So noted. Let's move on. Resolution 2527. This would authorize the commissioner, used to be the chairman, but we're gonna change it to the commissioner. To execute an EPA administrative order on consent. We've talked about this earlier, so resolution 2527, now therefore be it resolved that the commissioner is hereby authorized to execute the EPA administrative order on consent concerning docket SDWA-02-2025-8034. Are there any questions on this? I think we discussed it pretty thoroughly. Okay, may I have a motion to approve? So moved, second, Second, all in favor? Aye. I don't know why they took my name off the consent order, but I'm happy about it. I guess. Here we go, 2528. Now therefore be it resolved that the Albany Water Board consents to the extension of the NYSDEC's WQIP contract and authorizes the Deputy Commissioner to effectuate the extension of the contract and to undertake all actions necessary and convenient to effectuate the extension of the contract. Joe, you want to add anything to that? Or Bill?
Are we trying to really request an extension to this?
No, you know what happened was, there was a request that went in and then, I think it was ready for Bill's approval earlier this week, like DEC did what they needed to do to grant it.
Oh, it's already did.
So, yeah, so it was in the queue and.
Yeah, what we've had, because this is for getting some property around the alcove that we've talked about before, we're just having trouble getting timing to get people that want to get into it and getting the appraisals and stuff, so we just need a little more time to
Yeah,
get the parcels that we want.
that's great.
May I have a motion to approve? So moved, second, all in favor? Aye. Carries. Resolution 2529. Now therefore be it resolved that the Albany Water Board hereby authorizes the Commissioner of the Department of Water and Water Supply to negotiate the purchase price of prospective properties to be acquired by the Albany Water Board for source water protection with WQIP grant funds.
Yeah, this is kind of born out of the same statement that Joe had made, you know, this is an opportunity for us to be able to move on properties a little bit more quickly. This is really born out of discussion from Amy and then our consultant Jim Buzz. They're seeing on the ground, they'll, you know, see a property owner who's interested and then they actually get under contract with some other purchaser. So we're hoping to be able to at least get under contract and then have it conditioned on board approval shortly thereafter, but at least letting Joe be able to be the signatory on the purchase contract.
Makes good sense.
Yeah.
Any questions? Motion to approve?
So
So moved, second, all in favor? Aye. Resolution 2530. Resolution adopting revision to the Albany Water Board's backwater valve replacement grant program. I think we talked about this at the board meeting last month, and Laura sent it out with this. Lisa Irwin has worked hard on this, and they're good positive changes. So, if there are no questions, can I have a motion to approve? Moved, second, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Resolution 2531. Oh, this is it. Okay, guys, here we go. Chris, hold your breath. Now therefore be it resolved that the Albany Water Board hereby increases its contribution to the cost of the Lincoln Park Learning Garden project to $1,132,800. And be it further resolved that the Albany Water Board hereby authorizes the award of the Lincoln Park Learning Garden project contractor Peter Luizzi and Brothers, contracting the amount not to exceed $2,010,000, and be it further resolved that the Albany Water Board hereby authorizes the award of the Lincoln Park Learning Garden electric construction contract to Harold R. Plume, Inc. in the amount not to exceed $342,800. We talked about it. I'm proud of you all. I have one question. Do they think they can get it all done by the end of the year?
That's gonna be my question when they're done.
That was the contract completion date.
All right, here we go. May I have a motion to approve? I'll move second. All in favor? Aye. You guys are terrific. Resolution 2532. Oh, now therefore be it resolved that the Albany Water Board hereby authorizes the chairman, I get to do this one, to execute the license agreement with Scene One Amusement Parks, Inc. We talked about this. It's good to get it behind us. And I have a motion to approve. So move, second, all in favor?
Aye.
I'm glad that's done. Thank you, Laura, again. 2533. Now therefore be it resolved that the Albany Water Board hereby authorizes CT Mail Associates to undertake task 1, land survey and geoprobes to set forth in appendix A, attached here too, in the amount not to exceed $176,000.
This is the, what I talked about before when I ran through Bill's construction projects, that we had a couple of proposals. DT Mails was, we thought, a little bit more refined and more direct with the ability to get the survey done and the geoprobes early. And so there were we had requested like 4 different phases of work. We was authorizing the first phase, which is a survey and geoprobes.
Do you have a question? Why is this not something that's done on a regular basis?
That's what,
This is to check for the lead that's in the,
no, this is designing water mains.
okay, I'm sorry,
You go to the title.
Yeah,
I'm sorry,
that's next
For water main
month.
improvements.
That's next
Yeah.
month.
sorry.
Yeah.
I know you said CT now was.
They're working on a few different things for us. And that was the lead in the soil at Alcove.
Okay, I'm sorry, I'm sorry.
Any questions? May I have a motion to approve? I'll move. Second, all in favor? Aye. Thank you. Do we have any new business to discuss?
Yes.
No new business, all right. I guess then we need a motion to enter into executive session.
For the basis of pending litigation.
Pending legislation. May I have a motion to approve? So move. Second, all in favor? Aye. Aye. We now need to deal with some technical issues.
So you need to stop
But
streaming.
again, why is that not something that we can, was it go on the, we do that, but we don't check anything, but going, but we do have people come out and take the back. Why is that not something that will be done on a regular basis?
Want that.
The advice from the, fire.
Because
We live? Why don't you say what we need to say?
Okay, sure. So, we are back on the record. It's 10:34 a.m. The board, there was a motion to exit executive session and no action was taken during the executive session.
Good. Anything else we need to discuss? This board meeting? All right, our next board meeting is Thursday. The Thursday before Memorial Day, May 22nd at 9 a.m. And I thank you all for a really good meeting. They have a motion to adjourn. So move. Second, all in favor? Aye. Thank you.